So here is a canister vacuum that you do not see very often. It is a Bissell DigiPro canister. So I saw this on Craigslist a couple of weeks ago when I was visiting my parents in upstate New York, and I had actually seen it listed on Craigslist for quite a while, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what, for 25 bucks, why not? Because as I said, you don't really see too many of them around, and I remember being tempted to buy one when they were new. I think probably around 2013, 2014, I saw them being sold online for like 200 bucks. And it's just the fact that an inexpensive bag canister, the whole idea was very tempting to me. Since I now own one, I'm looking back and I think I'm glad that I didn't buy one new, but I don't regret buying this one because it was only $25. So, as far as I've been able to determine, this machine was made by Samsung, and which is completely believable because I had a Samsung canister a long time ago, and it basically has the same hose as the Samsung canister I had. And later versions of Samsung canisters came with that power head right there, the one that says the Dirt Lifter Power Brush. I have talked to some other vacuum collectors. Apparently there was a model of Samsung that was similar to this, but I've personally never seen one. It's kind of an interesting machine because they came out around 2003, 2004, but they were sold for, I want to say, about a decade. Bissell had them on their website for the longest time. I wonder if maybe just towards the end, those models were just new old stock or what. I'm not exactly sure, but they were definitely, you could literally buy one of these brand new for a solid 10 or so years. So they definitely had a very long run. A few of the odd quirks about this machine, and one of them is a nice quirk. This is the only canister I've ever seen that has a built-in door for the bag, so you can seal it off when you're done vacuuming, so that nothing that you've picked up is going to come back out into your environment. So I think that's a nice feature. I know that Miele's have a add-on feature where you can literally have like a cap that you put on here, but I just like that this one is built in. I think that's a very clever idea. And you know, surprisingly for a Bissell, this is a relatively tech-savvy vacuum cleaner. I mean, Bissell was never known to make vacuum cleaners that were that technologically advanced. And as many of you know, Samsung made pretty much almost all of Bissell's products from like about 2000 to 2010. So I guess that's another reason why it's not hard to see why this would have been made by Samsung. But anyway, it's a variable speed motor, so you have, this is supposed to be a plus and that's supposed to be a minus, but you can see the labels have worn off a little bit. So you have the on, the drapes, you have the economy mode, and then you have, I guess, floor mode in auto, which is right here. So yeah, it has multiple speed settings for the motor. You have your big main on-off switch right here on the canister, as well as the cord retractor here. I do like that it's not that bulky. I really like too that it's got a nice soft carrying handle as well as a rubber bumper that goes all the way around. I also like that it has soft wheels so that it won't scratch the floor. I think that's another nice feature. And as far as maneuverability, it's no Miele, but I would say it's about on par with a Kenmore, maybe even a little bit better. So that's a nice feature. One of the downsides, this vacuum, they never made HEPA bags for, so I actually made a HEPA bag to fit this machine just because filtration is very important to me. The bags for these vacuums are very small, so they would fill up quickly. And like I said, you could only ever get paper bags for these machines. So you got your basic pre-motor filter. This is interesting. So this is, there's actually two filters. So this is like almost like a carbon-like filter. And then your final HEPA filter is this, which is washable. And I did wash it, and it came out pretty good. I'm sure it wouldn't be able to take a second washing, but I guess just a one washing it was able to handle. And this is interesting because this filter is basically just like the Bissell bagless upright pleated filters like on the clean views. The only difference is they added this latch so it would actually lock in place right here like that. And it does, even though I will say it does not have a seal on the HEPA filter, so this is not sealed. There is a seal in the actual housing, so there was an attempt to make a seal, but it's not by any means a sealed system. I was curious to see how well it would do with filtration, and I would venture to say it's probably better than a Kenmore, but it does still blow a lot of air out the back of the cord rail, which I thought was very interesting. So it's definitely no Miele for filtration. I guess as long as you don't have severe allergies, it's probably not the worst in the world. Another glitch or flaw is, like many Mieles, this back collar, you have to always push it back down before you close the top cover, or else this will actually move, and then you'll just find dust and dirt all over the back compartment. So that is like a minor flaw that a lot of canisters seem to have, is that this collar will wiggle around when you take the cover back out. Now, I would say the oddest thing, and I think this is what most vacuum collectors remember about this machine, the attachments. So what you are looking at right now, this is all you got when you bought this vacuum. And keep in mind, no, this vacuum was not like $1,000 Miele, but when these were new, originally they were several $100s. You did not get a floor tool with this vacuum. And I think that's one of the reasons why this vacuum, you just don't see a lot of them. I'm not really convinced that they ever sold that well. It's just hard for me to imagine why somebody would buy a canister and not want a floor tool for it. So you did have 3 onboard tools. You have this cheap little upholstery tool thing, this dusting brush, which I'm not sure how successfully you would be able to dust many things with, because the brushes are incredibly stiff and incredibly cheap. And then you have this crevice tool here. So yeah, it's nice that they fit on board, but they're just so cheap. And it's interesting because the canister portion itself is reasonably well made. So it's interesting where they cut corners in some areas and they didn't in others. So we'll give it a quick run. I'm just gonna put the hose in. It's another thing, you kind of just have to play with it a little bit till it actually gets inside the vacuum. I know there's a way that I know the right way to do it. Let me see if I can. Yeah. It should go in right like that. Let's see. I have to put the camera down quick. This is another thing that I'm going to talk about in a minute. This is a very poor design. I know how it's supposed to go in, but it's... There we go. So yeah, putting the hose on this vacuum is not the most intuitive. So you got an average... I guess you got a decent enough length hose. It's not the longest, it's not the shortest. What's interesting is you got the brush roll on off control here. Despite the variable speed motor, you have another suction control valve here. So it's interesting that you can control suction in 2 different spots. So the power head, so everything works, but the power head, the bearings are a little bit dry, so I'll probably have to get that serviced at some point. I did replace the light bulb and belt. I haven't seen a power head like this before, but it's, you know, it's okay. It's not great. It's just okay. It's a plastic brush roll. I'm sure it has a little bit of wear to it, because the brushes pretty much are right in contact with the base plate, so I don't feel like it's a super deep cleaner. So I would say it cleans like probably like a filter clean power nozzle, so it's okay, but it's not great. But like I said, we'll give it a run. I think that there's a chance it might possibly have a small issue with the circuit board, because I've noticed when I'm using it, if I turn it off and then I go right back to turn it back on, it doesn't always come right back on. So I don't know if that's just some sort of a weird quirk of this machine, or if there's actually an issue with the circuit board. Another interesting thing is that it has the same black with white lettering cord like all the other Bissells have, like the Bissell upright. So I think it's kind of funny that it's basically got a Bissell upright cord on it. And this is actually something I just realized as well. It literally has this on it. So this is literally, there's literally an upright Bissell cord on this canister. And I'm pretty sure that's just how it came. And that's something else I forgot. I must have hit the power button at some point for it when I wasn't using it. Let's adjust this a little bit. That's too high. Let's go down a little bit. Another nice thing I will say is that it does have a extendable wand, which is nice for taller people. Another issue, I can't get these 2 pieces to separate. I already tried taking these covers off, and for whatever reason, these 2 pieces, the wand and the neck, don't want to separate. And I'm not even gonna try to mess with it too much, because if I were to break something down there, I'd pretty much be screwed. It's not like you can get new parts for these that easily. So what I've been doing is I took a set of wands I had with a filter queen tool at the end, and when you take this off to access the hose and wand, I actually can literally just shove those 2 wands to fit the filter clean tool at the end right up here, so I can still use this for floors. I really wanted to be able to do that since I have mostly floors. So you'll see when I run it, it's not that loud. It's mainly the power head that's making most of the noise. So it's on economy mode. Let's go down one. That's low speed. Economy. Starts. And then auto. We'll use it on economy mode, I guess, for the power head. So it's got more than adequate power on the canister end. It's just the power head that's a little less unsubstantial. I don't think it's terrible, but it definitely doesn't deep clean the carpet. But, you know, it's still kind of a novelty in a sense that I don't think I plan on using it much. But when I do use it, it is kind of interesting to use just because you don't see too many of them, and this is one of only a couple bagged Bissell full-size Bissell canisters. The only other full-size bagged canister that they made was a clean along, as far as I know, and that was actually not that bad of a canister. It's just they didn't sell them for long, and they're hard to find parts for. I had one of those years and years ago. But anyway, that is the Bissell DigiPro, and it says they call that circuit board sensor technology. So kind of interesting to see a kind of a quote-unquote high-end Bissell. So anyway, that is the Bissell DigiPro, and I hope you enjoy the video.